Happy Wednesday, everyone. This is Hunter from Support Local Film, your film hub podcast for Colorado, brought to you by Film Hound. Film Hound, we sniff out all the best content in Colorado and bring it right to you. Was that joke corny enough? Well, our marketing department didn't think so. We have some great news for you today. You remember Marcus G from Tomorrow Makers Studio, and he said that Tomorrow Makers Volume 2, a movie made exclusively by young adults in Commerce City. It's a sci-fi picture that is going to amaze and astound you. Time travel, X-Men meets Lord of the Flies. It's going to be so much fun. They just set their premiere date. Get this, August 17th at the Bug Theater. Get your tickets at tomorrowmakerstudio.com. We might be there in some capacity, so you'll have to check us out there too. So it'll be a lot of fun. We'll be there. Marcus will be there, and all those amazing kids will be there at the Bug Theater August 17th. And it's amazing to see young people do all this great work, making movies in Colorado, not being in the Hollywood complex or needing millions of dollars. They're just picking up a camera and going. Speaking of amazing people, we have someone really special today who came into the studio. She gets close to all sorts of people in the state of Colorado, and she makes sure that they're all safe. And the way she does that is through the help of some props, through talking to the director, and through all the production crew. And most importantly, she helps make sure that no one gets sued for bad behavior. Her name is Amanda Edwards. Amanda Edwards, you are an intimacy coordinator in Colorado. And tell us more of what you do.
I would be happy to. And first of all, I want to offer that there's no guarantee that producers will not get sued just by way of saying that they have hired an intimacy coordinator. First and foremost, we need to put that out there.
Oh no, I can still get sued? That's terrible.
I mean, not you personally, probably. I can't imagine. Your blush reflex is too intense for you to do anything I think that would get you sued. Just personally, that's my opinion.
Well, I'm really glad you said that, because I'm pretty sure this whole interview I'm going to be pretty red-faced, but it's an important topic, so we're very happy to hear it from you today.
Thank you so much. I'm happy to be here. And yes, I'm an intimacy coordinator. I also do mental health coordination to make sets safer places.
So how do you do that? Because in Colorado, it's kind of like the Wild West. We're kind of learning all of our rules, how we like processes to be, how we can make the best movies. But how can we ensure that everyone is safe while we do that?
You're right in that Colorado doesn't have a great deal of union productions. A lot of what's happening here is indie. It is a bit like rock and roll. We do what we want. And on one hand, that is empowering and enables Colorado creatives to really be free to do what they want to do and create what they want to create. And we can also acknowledge that the union has some really great protective rules in place for cast and for crew members. And because a lot of our theatrical productions, film and TV, are not union, there is a great deal of potential for harm there. So I think that we can have the capacity to be a really compassionate and aware community of people in Colorado, and I like to offer myself up as a resource in that way. I believe that every production has a right to mental health and intimacy coordination. If there's anything in the material or anything in any of the actors' backgrounds or crew members' backgrounds that would make the material sort of risky or potentially unsafe for them, and I continue to push really hard for that on every production where there is potential risk there. I want to be in there to help.
So you mentioned harm, and you're right. I like that Colorado is very rock and roll, but when we don't want rock and roll doesn't mean people have to get hurt. So describe the kind of harm we're trying to prevent here with intimacy coordination.
Sure. On the intimacy coordination side, I'm largely working with actors around sort of hyper exposed moments. So that could be nudity, not limited to less than a swimsuit, or it could include swimsuit coverage as well for some actors' comfort level. They want me on set when it is a swimsuit, and fine. Whatever is intimate or feels hyper-exposed to an individual is different from individual to individual. So nudity is one part of that. Also, anything that could feel intimate. So using a bathroom, it could be physical intimacy with another character, like a simulated sex act or something that's sort of sex adjacent. It could be a simulated sex act solo. It doesn't have to be with a partner necessarily. It could be scenes of domestic violence. It could be certain dialogue in a script might feel intimate to a person and they might require support in order to feel safer saying the words that are in the script. Birth, breastfeeding, racial violence. There's so many things that could feel intimate to an actor. And according to the union guidelines around intimacy coordinators, really an actor has a right to request an intimacy coordinator without question of why is that intimate to you? They just have to say, I would like an intimacy coordinator for this, and production then has to take that into consideration.
So that is a very big range. So you can go from anything from like private moments that someone might be having in a bathroom in a scene to, racial violence or scenes of domestic violence. What qualifies someone to be an intimacy coordinator, and what qualifications do you have to help people through this process, and what do we need to know?
That is an amazing question, because the answer to that is always evolving, because this is such a new field. And even with the mental health coordination piece, it's not a thing yet. I'm making it a thing. It's a thing now because I'm saying it's a thing. But the term intimacy coordinator is still so new that really the qualifications, the expectations, the training, the amount of experience that makes someone qualified to do that is still an evolving concept. For me personally, I am a licensed therapist. I have been a therapist for over a decade. I should probably tally up those years because we might be looking at a decade and a half. I think we're looking at a decade. I'm getting old. It's fine.
It means you're more seasoned. You're a very seasoned veteran professional.
Thank you. I've been a therapist, specifically a trauma therapist, for a really long time. And so my training from the mental health perspective is a lot of how to de-escalate, how to regulate the body, how to support someone to gain the autonomy and sense of empowerment necessary to advocate for themselves, supporting people to explore what their boundaries are and how to clearly state their boundaries so that they're respected by others. All of that is stuff that I came to intimacy coordination already having because of my background in mental health. So my sort of film specific training comes from years of being an actress on camera and on stage. And then in addition to that, I have been a dancer since pretty much I could walk. And so creating choreography and understanding movement and the muscles and body comes from my dance background and being able to choreograph dance movement. On top of, I'm also a certified yoga teacher. So understanding of muscles and movement and texture and all of that sort of intimacy and mental health coordination brings together all of these things that I was already doing in different areas of my life. And here I get to do them all together, which feels pretty magical to me.
Seems like you're the perfect person to do it. Not only are you like intimately aware of your own self, you're a dancer, you're an actor, but you're a licensed trauma therapist. So I think you're the kind of the perfect person to like settle the Wild West out here. Maybe you're the new sheriff in town.
Maybe. And sometimes the role of intimacy coordinator does involve a sense of having to put myself in a position of authority. Especially in advocating for actors when they maybe have not felt empowered in the past to set boundaries for themselves, or they've had a director, or the current director or producer is trying to lean over the fence of those boundaries. And I do have to sort of mama bear or sheriff in town that moment and lay down, this is not happening. We have to find another way to tell this story without doing XYZ, which is potentially harmful to the actor. However, I like to see myself more as sort of a liaison, someone who facilitates safer and healthier communication between parties so that there isn't questioning what are they thinking or what are they feeling, whether we're talking about actors or on the production or direction side of things. The definition of nudity, even, for example, or having sex or making love, those things are in scripts all the time. And we all have different interpretations of what that means. So just because an actor has read a script and said, yeah, I'll sign on to that project, does not mean that they're consenting to what the director or the producer thinks they are consenting to, because we all have interpreted those words to mean different things. So I like to see myself more as a liaison or maybe a translator or maybe a mediator if we're getting more technical. And then as an expert in terms of how to tell whatever the story is on screen in a way that is safer for everyone involved, but also is really captivating and really powerful and effective in terms of just telling the story, because that's really what we're there to do.
I'm glad you made that distinction. And I think that's an important distinction because, I grew up in a small rural community, and sure, I had sex ed, but it probably wasn't the same sex ed that maybe someone who went to a Denver public school did, or a private school, or maybe a Christian school. So we all have different kinds of experience coming into this. So I think it's good that we're having this discussion because there's many projects where these things do come up. What kind of projects have you seen yourselves working on in the last year or so?
Coincidentally, or maybe not, maybe this is a niche thing, I have done 2 erotic thriller features in the last year. 2 features in Colorado that have both been erotic thrillers.
So are you saying that Colorado is sexier than everywhere else?
Or thrillier, or both?
I'd like to say all 3. What kind of advice do you bring to these people when, say, the producer, full disclosure, I was one of the producers on a certain feature, and then I met you there, and now we're here on this nice show. Yay! So what was the conversation like when I was smoking my producer cigar and saying, listen, we're making a motion picture, and we need you to make sure we don't get sued. But then you say, but wait, you can get sued.
Yeah, I certainly sort of pitch myself as a safeguard for things like that. I also spent some of the early part of my career being a clinician who specialized in sex offenders. And so there's pretty much nothing that anyone could say about sex acts or what they envision in a film that would offend me personally. And so I pride myself on being that person that directors and producers and these people, typically men in this industry still, can communicate to me in a way that wouldn't be safe or appropriate with actors. But that's how it has been for so long, is that actors were subjected to those conversations where their bodies felt objectified, where they were offended by the language that producers or directors were using. So now those conversations get to happen with me, which is first and foremost, I think, some level of protection against lawsuit right there, because you're not going to be accused of sexual harassment if you never have a conversation with an actor that looks like sexual harassment, right? If you're not saying those things to the actor, you're saying them to someone, me, who comes in telling you, tell me how you want it. Use whatever words you need to use to convey what you want to tell. And then it's my job to translate that into a language that is sensitive, deloaded, desexualized, much more appropriate and effective, really.
Being someone who blushes a lot just trying to talk to people, I'm someone who does not like to have these conversations. I see the value I believe if Julia was here, it would be the time she shouted, "Game time!" This game, we think is perfectly formulated for you because it's a topic I think you'll be very familiar with. So it's going to be trivia about the show Sex Ed, and we're calling this game Let's Talk About Sex.
Baby.
Yeah. Is that how you start every meeting, by the way?
I will now.
Yeah?
Yep.
In that exact cadence that like...
Yep.
Yeah?
Mm-hmm.
Man, people are... I'm going to have to edit that in. Hopefully Netflix won't sue us. But anyway, question 1. Sex education was in the news recently because of some crossover in British television. One of those crazy kids from Moordale Secondary School recently discovered the power of time travel and now will be Doctor Who. Who is going to be traveling space and time telling kids to wear condoms and that chlamydia is not an airborne virus? Is it A, show star Asa Butterfield? Is it B, Gillian Anderson, who would be excellent, by the way? Is it C, Nukuti Gatwa? Or D, is it Laura Dern?
It's C.
Nukuti
I know
Gatwa.
this one.
Yay! Yes, we have Doctor Who has finally gotten a black doctor. He is a Nigerian immigrant to Scotland, Nukuti Gatwa. He is going to be the newest time traveler, and I am, for one, very excited.
Yeah, he is incredible, really. Like, yes.
I mean, if you've seen him on the show Sex Ed, you'll know that this is gonna turn Doctor Who upside down, and it's gonna be so much fun.
Amazing.
All right, so this is the part of the program you got through question 1.
Woo!
We're so proud of you.
Oh my gosh, I'm sweating.
Oh, well, hey, just you wait. Just because if you fail this quiz, it is 3 questions.
Okay.
You have to get 2/3 right. And if you fail, we kick you off the podcast and I have to teach everyone about sex ed. And I grew up in Elbert County, Colorado. So maybe I am not the professional that you are.
I mean, I could leave some pasties and a hammock and a sail and, I could leave that here for you.
And I'm blushing too hard already. So question 2. Which Tim Burton series developed from beloved children's books star Otis Milburn or in real life Asa Butterfield? So this is a question about a movie franchise that never took off and was directed by Tim Burton, starring one of these stars from Sex Ed. Is it A, Miss Peregrine's Home for Peculiar Children? Is it B, Sleepy Hollow? Is it C, Coraline? Or is it D, Dark Shadows?
I feel like it's either A or D.
Why would you feel that way?
Because Coraline is a movie that my kids are obsessed with, so I know it can't be Coraline, right? Or is that the answer? I'm terribly insecure about this.
So Coraline is from a Neil Gaiman short story.
Right. See? And it's also a movie that my kids are obsessed with, so it can't be Coraline. We're doing the process of elimination. What was B again?
B was Sleepy Hollow.
I did not take my meds this morning, so it's fine.
That's fair. You know what? Sometimes that's the way it is.
I don't know why I feel like it can't be Sleepy Hollow, but now that we're talking about it, I feel like it's probably Sleepy Hollow.
Just for reference, Sleepy Hollow came out in 1991.
The series? The movie?
The movie Sleepy Hollow came out in, I think, 1990. I could be completely wrong.
So I was right. It's either A or D. See, why are you making me question? My instincts were right.
Okay. All right. You're right. You're right. Why am I doing this to you?
Why are you doing this to me?
There's stakes for me this time, too. I don't want to be teaching these people about anything like this.
I'm not going to make you do that for real.
Well, I don't want to get sued for misinformation. So, A or D?
Why do I have to pick? Why can't we compromise on this? D. It's D.
You are incorrect.
Oh my gosh. You should have just let me have the compromise.
The answer was A, Miss Peregrine's Home for Peculiar Children, starring Asa Butterfield as Jake. Dark Shadows stars Johnny Depp. However, you can save this. You can snatch a victory from the maws of defeat by answering question 3. Are you ready, Amanda, for question 3?
No, but let's go for it.
All right. There's some drama here.
Always.
Remember, I got a B+ in sex ed. It was taught by a very nice teacher named, you know what? I can't even remember his name right now.
Probably for the best.
It's probably for the best. He would be very disappointed that I'm even doing this to you, and much less if I had to teach anyone about anything. Question 3.
Yeah.
Though Gillian Anderson plays a sex therapist in the show Sex Education, she didn't always get sex-positive roles. In the sci-fi show X-Files, what inconceivable plotline was thrown her way in season 8 in order to spice up the show? Was it A, she was impregnated by aliens? Was it B, she was impregnated by telekinesis? Was it C, she was impregnated by a psychic link by Mulder, David Duchovny? Or is it D, she was impregnated by Laura Dern?
Full disclosure, my parents were like really overprotective, and I was not allowed to watch X-Files when it came out. When I don't know how old I would have been when X-Files first started. And so I never got into X-Files. Can I I don't know how to answer this one because I literally have no information in my brain.
Okay. All right. So you're gonna phone a friend. Help. I'm gonna give you, since Julia's not here and you don't have a partner.
Can Google be my friend?
I am going to give you any call you want.
Because I don't even know who I would call.
Okay. All right. We'll settle this the old-fashioned way. If you can win a game of rock, paper, scissors.
I literally just had that thought. He's gonna make me do rock, paper, scissors. Like I literally had that thought before those words came out of your mouth.
Well, then maybe you should have answered C. She was impregnated by a psychic link. Or telekinesis is B. But all right, ready. Are you ready to settle this the old-fashioned way?
I'm gonna do the very best I can.
Okay. All right. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
The camera's gonna have to. I'm gonna get into your space a little bit so that the camera can catch it. Ready?
I do consent to that.
Okay. Thank you. All right.
Are we doing 1, 2, 3?
Shoot.
Okay.
1, 2, 3.
Okay.
Ready?
Mm-hmm.
Oh no! Oh, you've bested me in rock, paper, scissors by choosing paper. And no one knew what I was saying off screen because I was off screen. So the answer is actually a trick question for this one. The answer was A. She was impregnated by aliens. At least she thought. They never really answered that, which is like the X-Files whole thing is they never really answered it. You know, television's much better now. Don't feel bad, Amanda.
Okay. I was going to say, I probably couldn't even tolerate a show like that because I need the payoff. So.
Oh, if you wanted payoff, the X-Files is the wrong show for you. Sex Education is much better.
Oh, yeah, there's a ton of payoff in Sex Education.
Well, we'll be talking about payoff in the next portion, but we have some ads. So if you're just joining us, we have Amanda Edwards. She is a mental health therapist and an intimacy coordinator here in Colorado, and she is going to tell everyone how to keep everyone safe on set and much more. See you after the break. Thank you for joining us. This is Hunter from Support Local Film. We are joined today by someone with a lot of experience. Her name is Amanda Edwards, and she is an intimacy coordinator in Colorado. Amanda, tell us what someone needs to do to become an intimacy coordinator.
That is a great question. So first and foremost, in intimacy coordination work, there are some standards that SAG has worked on developing for us for the safety of people who want to say that they're intimacy coordinators. And those training standards include things like mental health first aid, of course, training in choreography and masking techniques. There's also sexual harassment training, bystander intervention training. Those things are really important because at the end of the day, really our job is focused on communication and effective communication between parties in order to enhance a sense of safety and efficacy in productions. So that's helpful. On top of that, training in modesty garments and different types of simulated sexual acts that can be depicted on screen. Those sort of higher level trainings are really important. And it's important to recognize that not every intimacy coordinator is well equipped to handle any job that might come their way. There's certainly projects that I will refer to a colleague who specializes in a certain type of intimacy or a certain type of character or an actor who needs a specific type of support from their IC. I mean, I like to think of the people who I know who are intimacy coordinators in the business right now, that we very much are a team and we want to support one another. And it's not, we don't have to hog jobs. We can pass them along when we're not the best fit.
So speaking about being a best fit, this is not a job where if you're in film school and this kind of project comes up that you can go to your friend who, you think is very sex positive and say, "Hey, why don't this weekend you pop on this set and you be the intimacy coordinator?" You have a special set of training, and you have a degree in what do you have a degree in?
My bachelor's is in sociology, and then my master's is in counseling.
So this is something you're very qualified to do. This is something that you have training for. So that, just as a disclaimer for everyone, please do not just buy the equipment of a intimacy coordinator and then jump in and say, "This is the thing I do now, and I'm going to make money doing it." Because what would happen if someone just jumped into that?
What's interesting that you saying that is actually that's how I became an intimacy coordinator. Was someone who I'd never met before reached out to me via Facebook Messenger, a person who presented as male, that I did not know, messaged me saying that they were preparing the following weekend. They were preparing to shoot a couple of shorts that they had written and were planning on directing and starring in, and that they had already hired a female actress for the morning short, and that they wanted to hire me for the afternoon short to be the actress who would be co-starring in these shorts, and that he wanted to use us as a female PA for the opposite actress's shoot. So I would be morning, she would be afternoon for me, in order to enhance our safety during these shorts, because they were about relationships and involved some simulated sex on screen. And in my head, as I'm reading this and thinking, I should probably talk to my agent, I'm also feeling all of these red flags. This doesn't feel okay. And I chatted with a male friend of mine from my acting class that I was in at the time, and I asked, "Am I overreacting? Is he asking me to do something that's entirely appropriate and I'm just being weird?" And he goes, "No, he's essentially asking you to be the intimacy coordinator. First of all, don't do that project. And also," he goes, "and P.S., you would be an amazing intimacy coordinator." And it took me a second to think about it. And first of all, I did not do that project. I don't think anyone did that project. That person has since disappeared on Facebook, I think. So I'm a Gemini and I have ADHD. And so it took me 24 hours after that conversation to decide that's what I was doing. And I had bought Chelsea Pace's book, which had just come out at the time, I think. And I had signed up for trainings from IDC and TIE and Lizzie Talbot's training. I just signed up for all the education that I could. At the time, I started ordering equipment. I was in it, because that light bulb moment of, oh my gosh, I would be good at this.
And not to caution other people, if this sounds like the right kind of gig for you, what would someone need to do?
There are a couple organizations that offer sort of the basic, here's what you need to know training, to sort of dip your toe in the water to be sure it's a right fit for you. TIE, Theatrical Intimacy Education, offers a great, I think it's called Best Practices training. Intimacy for Stage and Screen. They will occasionally do a basic in intimacy coordination, and then intimacy directors and choreographers, IDC is the other big one nationally, that does do a training on sort of level 1. Here's what you need to know about intimacy coordination to prepare you to even enter the idea of doing this job, let alone actually doing the job, because you need to know about film set etiquette. You need to know about movement. You need to know about stunt work. You need to know about sexual violence and how to portray that. There's so much that really, in order to be effective and responsible and ethical, that you really should know deep in your bones before you set foot on a set to do this work.
And that's a very important distinction. And while we are slowly becoming a film hub, I'm so glad we're talking about this, because we're a creative center and we all want what's best as we grow is to become safer, not safe, unsafer, more safe for everybody. And this is an important way to go about that. This is just to me, this seems just like one of the essential steps to make sure that everyone has all their best interests taken care of. So we're running low on time, but we're so thankful that you came here today. We have one more game for you today.
Okay.
And it's something you'll be already great at. It's called the blushing game. So this game is all about stories you've done, real life things that you can share. You don't have to give any details, but if they can make me turn purple, then they'll be successful. And you'll be able to tell by how I look, and if the special effects that we'll add in later, if they go ding ding ding, then you'll know Amanda has won the blushing game. So, Amanda, what are some horror stories, or maybe not horror stories, maybe some fun little tales that have occurred while you're working here in Colorado as an intimacy coordinator?
Maybe we'll start with like something more benign and we'll see how it goes from there.
I think that's very kind of you.
So you're welcome.
Yeah, I really appreciate that. Right now I'm at a alabaster, which is I would say is my little Roman statue itself. So let's see if you can make me into a tomato today.
Okay, I will give it a shot. I feel like there might be a response to just me pulling out a pair of my husband's underwear.
I mean, there was before.
I actually had these in my kit because, and again, not sponsored, but my husband really loves Sax underwear. Because there is this amazing pouch inside where, regardless if you're doing intimacy work or not, the parts of your body that rest outside of your body can rest in this sack. So for the purpose of film, on the last film I was doing, I taped this foam cup inside the pouch of this underwear for the actor to wear, because then I didn't have to tape anything to his poor body, because, you know, putting adhesive on your skin day after day gets kind of old. So we taped the pouch. Can you see that?
Yes,
Yeah.
we can.
So we taped the pouch into my husband's underwear. He's going to love this so much. Maybe we just don't tell him.
Yeah, let's you bought these nice underwear from Saks just because they're such a high quality product, and you're like, my husband would never know if I stole one or two or three of these pairs.
He totally knew, and this is one of his favorites, and I felt really bad when I opened up my bag and realized that they were still in here. Anyway, actors tend to, in addition to having the waterproof barrier, they also kind of like the, we're going to demonstrate on my chest. Why are we demonstrating on my chest?
Would you like me to cut this part?
Actors tend to, we're just going for it, Hunter. Actors tend to like the shape that this gives them as well, because I mean, part of this work is helping actors feel more confident about their bodies and being shown on camera. How's that for blushing? Where are we at?
Oh, we're at a nice, I'd say a good scarlet.
Okay, I have another treat in my kit.
Oh no.
Yeah. So this is a Pilates ball. You ever work out with a Pilates ball?
I don't think I've ever worked out.
Noted. I blow up this Pilates ball. Hang on, with my mouth. You ready?
Ooh.
Just a little.
Yeah.
Just a little. We blow it up just a little. And then this rests between actors' bodies while they move against the other person's body, so that there's less friction, so that we reduce the risk of arousal during filming, so that they're not actually putting genitals on genitals. Also, this is waterproof because it's plastic, right? Is that what this is made of? You doing okay?
Well, I think we've reached purple. Well, folks, thank you for joining us. You've discovered that I'm a little bit of a blusher, but we're so thankful that Amanda Edwards came in today to tell us all about the emerging field of intimacy coordination in Colorado, as well as all over the world. This is a new field, but it's incredibly important for the safety of everyone on set and viewers at home. So Amanda Edwards, thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you so much for having me.
Next week, we will be having another lovely discussion. I hope not to blush too much, but if we do, well, we'll just have to play another round of the blushing game. Thanks so much. And no matter where you are, if you are in Sterling, if you are in Leadville, if you are just across the border in Wyoming, step over, stop what you're doing, watch some local films, and remember, you got to stay creative, Colorado.